Hey everyone, we are going live. We just had to watch Australia beat Netherlands in the water polo. So
Love you, Will.
yeah, sorry all our friends in Holland. Anyways, gosh, where do I start? To be honest, right now I'd rather be sitting on the couch with our kids watching the Olympics. But I also get that right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of anguish. There's emotions flying left, right, and center. And if you're new to the party, we started to, be a voice of reason about 18 months ago to help people distinguish what's really going on. But more importantly, as the title says, we can teach you your rights. But if you're there knowing your rights and you're still angry and you're still arguing and you're still fighting with people and you're always trying to be right, how's that working out for you? And so the whole purpose of this is for you to be at peace. And I referenced a couple of different things for people early on. The first is the book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, where he's going through absolute hell on earth, but he wins the inner game. He really comprehends to be an observer through this process and really not to be sucked into the agenda that was at play through that phase. So you think about, I refer to the agenda, if you're kind of new to this, and I guess that's what is a little bit exciting. There's people who kind of felt in their gut things weren't adding up, and they researched and just, really got to the bottom of it and feel quite confident in where things are, where they stand within that. And then there's people who didn't do that. But there's more and more people becoming aware. Not sheeple, not I'm woke, you're asleep. People have different values. Some people really value certainty. And they've gained certainty from perceived authority, because that's just how we've been indoctrinated for generations. So sit still, say yes. The person at the front of the room telling you what to do, that is the definitive answer. And to pass go and go to the next stage, you need to regurgitate what you were told was true. And don't question that. Don't talk to your neighbor. In fact, if your neighbor does the wrong thing, you dob them in. And so this has been our message loud and clear all through this. How do we... Okay, if I go back, the agenda. If you have not had a look at event 201, which let's just go through the probability of powers that be, the elite, doing a simulation just months before of exactly what could happen, and it's all happened to the T. And so event 201, Agenda 2030, which was the Great Reset. And if you haven't read things from Klaus Schwab and you haven't looked at the Global Economic Forum, it's okay. It's okay. The party's still going. You're late to the party, but it's still going. And if you look at things like the Georgia Guidestones, and the reason all your conspiracy realist friends, the reason why they've been pretty accurate is it's all been laid out for us. It's all there, what's happening. And so that's why they can predict when the next lockdown might be, when the next headline might be. So I just wanted to open with that. In the whole part of the agenda is to divide.
Yeah.
It's to create anguish. It's to create turmoil. It's to create us versus them. And so if you know your rights, but you're being right at the sake of making other people wrong, we lost.
Yeah.
Okay, they won, we lost. And so I'm going to circle back to this. I just wanted a little bit of preamble because, we can teach you all sorts of stuff around rights, but it's how you use that.
I think that's, first of all, the big message that we want to share tonight is, our inboxes have been flooded by messages that are really saddening, that there's a lot of right, wrong, us, them, labeling and all of those things. And I think at the end of the day, what would be really nice as human beings is that we can respect people for how they live their life and the choices that they make. And so the information that we're sharing with you this evening isn't to convince you of a decision whatsoever. But I think when you make any kind of decision for yourself, it's important to have all of the information in front of you so that you can make an educated one, not one based on fear. And just seeing and hearing how humans are treating other people right now because of an apparent difference of opinions, it's really, really, really been hard to watch and to read and to be able to. I'm grateful that they're reaching out to us for support, but it's sad that other people are being like that. When, I would say a year ago, they would have been mates, and all of a sudden one choice is really creating this huge divide. And as we kind of said before, when that happens, it's kind of the system gets to win. So tonight is, really about helping you feel empowered in whatever your decision is and feeling really good with that, and not trying to get out there and just look for a fight, because either way, it doesn't serve you and it doesn't serve others. It really doesn't.
Yeah, so try on curiosity first, and putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Because right now, whoever is making choices, making actions, taking decisions, they're not doing it in order to piss you off. Like, they don't wake up and go, who can I annoy today? They're making these decisions based on what's most important through to least important to them.
For them, yeah.
Okay.
And it's not always going to be the same. As much as we'd like everyone to think like I do or you do, it's going to be different. And we need to be able to respect the differences, but be okay with our own choices as well.
You had a great metaphor earlier.
Yeah, well, it's
Kate's vegan.
My daughter, our daughter, she's a little animal activist, but she sits down at the table with our 11 and 13-year-old sons, and they eat their own meals and they still love each other. It's not like you're right, I'm wrong, I'm better than you. It's just we're different, and that's cool. And I'll share my opinions and you can tell me your point of view, but at the end of the day, we'll still hug and, be friends at the end of it. And that might seem like a really simple metaphor right now, but why does it need to be any different than that? And right now, like, I got a message from someone today who has a business that is just doing beautiful things in Central Coast of New South Wales, and they've been receiving death threats personally from people that do not know them. They've just been making pure judgment on choices and decisions, and it's like, wow, when do people feel like they've got this authority to come in with horrible words and become a keyboard warrior, regardless of whether you're for or against or however you want to see yourself? Like, that's just not okay.
Well, interestingly,
you got one of those too, didn't you? But
all the time.
Lot.
but you can't play a game of tennis if you don't hit the ball back.
Correct.
So if someone sends, a serve your way, it's just like, not hitting it back.
We teach that to our children, like particularly our boys, 11 and 13. They're just hitting the ball back at each other all the time. And it's like, mate, if you don't hit the ball back, he can't fight with you. So it's kind of, although it's counterintuitive sometimes because you just want to give someone a piece of your mind, regardless of where you stand, sometimes it's just best to stand in your own truth, whatever that is, and continue on with life.
So let's keep going on this topic.
Okay.
No, this was not the topic of tonight.
Okay.
You derailed us already. No.
Did I?
If you're trying to convince people, the likelihood of you doing that by resorting to name calling or offering information in a way that doesn't appeal to them, why waste your energy? Mm-hmm. Because not only are you upsetting yourself and them, that's opportunity that you could be spending in a mindset, in a frequency, in a vision, in a heart open space on how you'd love this to go. And so just every time, I'd love you to have some kind of trigger that every time you want to be right, just stop that and go, how could I be better spending my time? If you feel that there's an opportunity where two people can come together and have a discussion, the best way to do that is to ask questions and to go, hey, I'm curious, how did you come to that decision? And not from a place of I'm up here, you're down there, a genuine. So the saying is, DeMartini, he talks about if you put people above you on a pedestal or you put people below you in a pit, you lose. But if you can put people on the same level of you and put them in your heart and go, we're actually all in the same field, we're all in the same frequency, we're on the same planet. And so if you're hurting, I'm hurting. So enough of that. No, it's not enough of that. Let's apply it more practically, because the other thing I'm seeing is people, I know my rights, I don't consent. Well, as soon as you say that, you're being belligerent, you're arguing, okay? And that's different to a conditional acceptance. So always remember this, he who makes the claim bears the burden of proof. And so if someone says, blah, 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 you make this, go, that's amazing. Can you please show me either under what authority that you are asking for this information, or I totally got distracted. Under what authority, or could you show me the evidence? Okay, so one example is we got sent a message this evening. Interstate truck drivers are now being forced. You're never forced. Mandates are not law. Okay, directives, orders are not law. It's an offer for you to contract. And people are getting confused, going, you're talking about common law, you're talking about natural law that won't stand up in court. I'm not. I'm talking about equity. Equity. I'm talking about contract law. And so it doesn't matter what you talk about. When you look globally, every transaction, there needs to be consent on both sides. And so if you're being coerced, if you're not given all the information, if you're being bullied, in other words, if you don't do X, then Y will happen, it can't be a contract.
So for example, the truck driver traveling interstate being forced to be tested every time he crosses the border to ensure that he...
Oh, I don't consent. I'm not doing that. Well, you're arguing, you're being belligerent. If you just say, that's fantastic. Could you please show me where in my contract it shows that? Where in the terms, where in the conditions, where is that information when I sign this under this work agreement? If you can show me that, I'll accept. And secondly, I'd love to see the validity that this actually shows what it's testing for. And then third of all, if I was to be positive, can you show me the evidence that that is valid also? And that leads us to the topic I wanted to start on tonight.
Yes, that's okay. We needed to warm up. It's been a while since you've chatted with everyone about this.
Which is this. And so again, anyone, if I can just explain the PCR test in real layman's terms.
Please do, because I like to ask the simple questions so that for people that haven't necessarily been across this, it kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. So to my knowledge, the PCR test is that where they take the swab from the nose or the back of the throat, and then they test that to see if someone is positive or not. Uh-huh. And so what's just come to light recently?
Well, first of all, they can take that bit of information and it's not definitive. And so they put it into a machine that replicates it. So it multiplies it. And so you might have the most finite. And so if I just, another little tangent, if I wanted to find cancer in your body right now, we could.
Through a certain amount of testing.
If we did enough tests in enough parts of your body, almost 100% of people would have some kind of cancer cells going on in their body. And that's normal. And so your body is dealing with that and cells are coming. And so you're both healing as well as dying at the same time. I shouldn't use the word dying, but both processes are happening at the same time.
Breaking down and
so, but if I went in and I found that and I magnified, so the founder or the developer of the PCR test, interestingly, mysteriously passed just not too long before COVID. He came out publicly and said that this test is not designed to detect infectious diseases. And then there's been varying rates, so you can replicate or you can multiply the number of times that you turn this over, and the difference between 25 and you say 30 or 45 is vast.
As in repeating the test to see if it's still, like, to get the result.
The number of replications to find, okay? So, yeah, so New South Wales cycling the test at 45. If there's anything I say that's not exact, I'm not referencing this, and I know that will upset people who their only means of information because of their schooling, their indoctrination is if you don't have a double-blind placebo test and you don't have 3 letters at the end of your name, I'm not even listening to the information. I would encourage you to set that aside for now because that will not serve you. Or apply your own rules to the information that is there. And so if you do look at the tests that are being done, if I move to the shots now, all it shows is it reduces the severity of symptoms for largely an asymptomatic challenge. But there's no evidence that it reduces infection or transmission. And so if you're out there going, well, you need to have it because then I'm safe, gosh, just go read the papers and apply the same level of scrutiny to the narrative than what's happening here. So
can we just go back to the testing?
Test.
So New South Wales is currently replicating at 45, but it's been said on various sites, and I'm sure we can find and give the links later, but at around 20 gives an accurate-ish level.
And if someone knows this, pop it into the comments. We've seen so many things. It's more likely around 25 that I'm sure the World Health Organization said that should be the standard. Mm-hmm. So in essence, if you test more people at a replication that's almost double what it said it should be, from a test that the founder already said this is not appropriate to look at infectious diseases, the whole basis of the numbers, the cases, justifying lockdowns is flawed. Yep, Kim says 25 to 28.
Yeah.
So, gosh, well,
we already
knew this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you need a science degree. We all need to go get a science degree. So we're all indoctrinated and we all just think the same way. Now, what is science? Science is the art of asking and answering questions. That is science. As soon as you're told you can't ask that question, science stopped. Mm. Science progresses at the rate that we ask better questions. And so shouldn't you smell a rat when you're going, you can only actually don't ask questions, just listen to the person on the TV. And if you ask a question, it'll be deleted, you'll be censored, you'll be kicked off our channels. Mm. Like that alone has got to get you to start going, I don't know, maybe this doesn't sound right.
It doesn't add up. So, shall I share this?
Lo and behold, yes, let's share it.
Okay, check this out, people. So, this is a article listed as of the 21st of July on the Centre for Disease Control and Prevention website.
Centre for Disease Creation? Well, I'm sorry. Okay.
Anyway, and basically, and we can pop the link into the chat of this live, but essentially what this states is...
that they've come and said, we're going to pull the use of this for emergency authorization. It's actually not ideal to do all this stuff. Sorry.
So that's the swab up the nose. Whoops, sorry, not accurate like we thought it was. Correct. But we're going to keep testing people and encouraging that to happen, and we're going to open up testing sites all throughout the country.
Yeah, I saw footage like people lined up for kilometers in cars, people lined up to go get tested. And like now, CDC, the World Health Organization, they're not this governmental, all overarching body that is the voice of reason. These are still funded. These are still kind of make up whatever they like. But if we're playing this game, then we're going to go ahead and say, okay, well, let's go. Let's go with the narrative.
Yeah.
So the second piece of the puzzle is this.
Check this out.
So George Soros, if you don't know who that is, you should. He very much owns a lot of the media outlets. Is definitely considered one of the global elite for all the wrong reasons. So he and Billy Boy have gone ahead in a consortium.
And they've bought a UK-based maker of COVID tests to increase the affordable state-of-the-art technology.
Could you do that tone again?
Do you like my news reading? Sorry. Anyway, they've only spent a sweet $41 million on this.
Anyway.
Because now it means that they've got a new updated test that everyone will get to use instead.
Now, go back. The justification of everything that has happened to now has been based on this test.
On the Pci test?
Correct.
Or the other one that doesn't work.
And so they go, oh, by the way, oh no, it doesn't matter. We've got a new test. And by the way, we just bought it. We fund it. Now.
And can I just, time out. Because some of you watching this might, I guess, this is all brand new. And so if this is like, this just doesn't seem right. This chat is designed just to have you start asking questions, just to start doing your own research so that whatever choice you personally make for yourself and your family, that it's an informed one, because this information is not what you see on mainstream media or television at all. And that's why we're here sharing this message. And if someone shared this video with you, that's why they're passing it on, just to have you start to ask questions. And if you dismiss it, totally cool. But for a lot of people, they're not being exposed to this information, and that's why we're here sharing with you guys.
The other thing that I'm going to pop into the comments of this is if you know the history as far back as about 2000, 2002, even 99, and every time something is patented, it needs to be registered. It needs to be publicly visible information. So when you look at that and you start to see, okay, these novel, so novel means new, have had patents on them for, 20 years, not just a few, about 73. And you start to go, actually some of the patents for the solution, the supposed solution, already were approved before the problem came out. And then if you trace the funding on where the problem came from, and you see, okay, that's the same person who now has the biggest shares in the solution. So
correct me if I'm wrong.
I would never ever dare.
Bill, so we got Billy Boy and Mr. Soros, that they now have the accurate testing to determine if people have this, apparently, and they also have the solution, or they have the money invested in the solution as well right now. It's fairly interesting.
Yeah, and another doctor goes by the first name of my name, Fauci.
Won't hold that against you.
No, Fauci. Man, if you haven't tracked that guy's history, if you haven't tracked what's pretty well mainstream, like it's public, it's all out there for everyone to see. I guess what I'm saying now is the advice we gave at the start, it was mostly for us as well. Because I find it so easy to get sucked into, man, you're just not even trying now. You're just not even trying to see what else is out there. The information that's available now, to not look at it is really just going to be to your own detriment. The people who are trying to share the information with you, some are doing it to be right, no doubt, but others, they're actually just saying, hey, I found some stuff. It's probably a good idea you saw this. Yeah, just take a look. Oh no, that's not a reputable source. Oh no, you're not a scientist. That's not going to work out well for you. Okay.
So I think that the biggest thing though that we wanted to get across tonight is just start asking questions, do your research, get a little bit of reading happening. And the other message that we want to put out there, because there's a lot of just good old Aussie own businesses that are just like small base local businesses that are just trying to keep their doors open and do the best. Now, I don't agree with so many of the rules and regulations that are being trying to be imposed. I heard of a business earlier today who had a COVID marshal walk in and fine them because they had a client there without a mask on that didn't have proof of exemption. And there's all sorts of things going on. And I know for a lot of you out there that have been maybe learning in this space for a while, you know what you can say and how you can stand up for yourself. And some of you are looking for a fight. And I definitely, I've kind of held my stance on this the whole way through, that that's not necessarily the place to be, regardless of what side of the fence you're on. Appreciating other people's differences, I think, is super important, but also respecting our fellow Aussie business owners that are just trying to keep their doors open and pay their staff. And we've got plenty of beautiful friends of ours that are in that exact boat.
Well, we had a question. We had a question about a year ago. We started an academy, and the academy came out of a glaring need for people to find community, so that they could learn this information together, they could find their voice, they could find their vision, they could continue to live in their power and a life on purpose. And anything that's trying to distract them from that, how can they quickly deal with that and get back to a life they love? So it was Jo, I won't say her surname, but she asked the question, I live in a little country town, everyone knows everyone, I get this information, and I know when I go into these businesses, I don't need to wear a mask. I know that they can't ask me for it.
And I don't. Signing in and all that.
Signing in and all that.
Yeah.
But some of these businesses, they're my friends. And they're between a rock and a hard place. They've got a government which is created legislation, which again is not law, but they're scaring the heck out of these businesses. Say, you need to enforce this. Mm-hmm. You're now the police. And then you've got customers who are going in there and going, well, I'm not doing that. And so again, instead of trying to be right and going, no, that's a state law. And I know, because I've read that federal law overrides that. And so if there's any, conflict, the federal law will always go. That's fabulous. But what about the business owner who's just trying to keep their doors open, and they don't need the stress of
a fight.
Yeah. Okay. There's a time and a place for that. And so that's what I'm urging, because Kate did this great and she's going to show you guys in a second. They're changing in New South Wales. No, actually, everything to do with Privacy Act, everything to do with discrimination, we're just throwing that out the window. You have to show us your exemption now, which is such a crock.
A crock, yeah.
Imagine a year ago, 2 years ago, and you roll on up, to your local bowls club, and you're in a wheelchair, and they go, nah, can't come in because you've got that. Like, it would be all over the news. That business would have fines. It would be straight. Mm-hmm. And whereas now, it's like, no, you don't have that. Well, no, I've got PTSD. I've got asthma. I had this, that. It's like, no, you need to show us. I don't believe you. So you're getting these people. Now, again, the person standing on the door.
It's turning into citizens on patrol, though.
It is, honestly. But that person thinks they're doing the exact right thing.
Yeah.
You've got to get that. And so if you
they're trying to keep their job, they're trying to keep things safe for their boss, they don't want to get into trouble, they don't want to be the one that breaks the rule, and they don't know. Like, there's a lot of factors at play.
Yeah, they might have had an experience earlier in life where it's like, no, I did the wrong thing and I I let this and something happened. Like, what's going on in that person's mind? You're making it personal instead of going, what's the path of least resistance to allow the business to win? Now, that's in some situations. And I know there's others where people are just being downright blunt. Well, don't give them your money.
Walk away.
Walk away. But this is for those who just want to know what the new rules are. And it's easier to play the game if you know the rules. So take it away.
I will. Okay, so again, yes, you can take a different path, but this is about if you're wanting to support your local businesses. And for those of you watching, and if you're questioning the efficacy of wearing a mask, there's lots of information if you go search out there, and there's been statements made from many powers that be above the government saying that it's not efficient, is it? Anyway, so I'm going to share my screen and just show you, for those of you probably are members of our Facebook community that we created.
Well, some of you won't be.
That you might not be, and Facebook's made it a little hard to find us. Again, we'll pop the link into this thread as well, but essentially we've created a Facebook community supporting people who are wanting to be empowered, and there's an email list that you can join so that if you're not on Facebook so much, we can just shoot you the details as we learn them. But essentially what we have here, this document is just showing you how with the current announcement that has been made, particularly for New South Wales, but I think it's kind of a good idea for anyone around Australia just to have it as well.
Conspiracy realist alert.
Okay.
The whole country's going to be in lockdown soon.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so plan for the worst, but expect the best. Expect the best, but plan for the worst.
All
and
right.
I'll go into more detail in a second.
So if you want, when you go to this is in the pinned post of our group. But essentially, this shows that apparently we are now supposed to, we can't just say we have an exemption, we have to show that we have an exemption. And so you can go to your doctor and have that written by a doctor. However, it also states on there, and if I show this image here, that a medical certificate from a health practitioner or a statutory declaration can be made around why you have exemption to wear a mask. And so this is where we're supporting the little guys. If you're in a position where that's exactly the case for you, then have this on you. For me, I'm going to have one in the car. I'm going to have one on me of a regular place of business or exercise that I go to. I'm going to give them one to have on file at their desk so I don't even have to deal with it. Because basically, there's many reasons why you might not be able to wear a mask. And so you can get a stat dec signed. And essentially, if you go and you check out all these links, here's some of the many approved witnesses for a statutory declaration. So architects, chiropractors, physios, midwives, medical practitioners, justice of the peace, police officers. So there's a whole list of them. But basically what we've got here is a link to be able to find a stat dec template to download. And so then you can download it, print it out, have it signed by one of the approved witnesses, and then you have that on you so that if you are asked for a mask and you do not have one, that you can show them that I have a statutory declaration that shows my exemption from wearing that. So
yeah, so this is where Kim's just asked, correct me if I'm wrong. I've really tried to reduce my time spending all day researching this stuff. But my understanding is it's only a biosecurity officer who can even ask you. It's not or Johnny at the front door or a policeman.
Army police officer or a biosecurity officer. And most people, like your front door person at the bolo or the security guard at the
Coles
whatever, they don't have those certifications behind them, but they're just trying to do their job.
So someone asks you, oh, thank you so much for the job you're doing. I really appreciate you keeping us all safe. That will get you a long way as a first thing back.
So you're not fighting or hitting the ball back straight up.
Hey, just curious. My understanding, in fact, I know the laws or the rules. You can only ask me that if you're a police officer. I can't see your badge. Are you a biosecurity officer? Okay. Can you show me that? Under what authority are you asking this for? And so you can use it as an opportunity to, because mate, they just got employed 2 weeks ago, and it's here. Your job is to stand on the front and ask everyone, because, you know, if we get found out, we're going to get fined. Just think of the history of how that person came to be in that
standing in that position. Yeah.
And have a conversation. If you really care for the person, do it in a way that you can ask questions, educate them along the way, but it's got to be from a tone of curiosity. Okay? And so just ask, do you, you know, in the training they gave you to be able to stand here and ask that, do you realize that what you're asking for, you can be fined? Okay? You're the one who's going to end up in trouble here if you haven't been given the education on what needs to happen in these interactions. So if you like, I can give you some information. And we've got the other stuff there where you can go to the parts of the Anti-Discrimination Act and the Privacy Act where you can see you just can't ask that information.
Our suggestion though, again, if you are just wanting to, again, support the local businesses and just go through the process without looking for a fight, just have it on you. Just have it there. So if, you know, worst case scenario, yep, here it is, cool. No, it's not okay. No, it's not fair. No, it's not legal, but just do it to reduce the stress and the fight, I really think. Ash has just asked about airports and masks. I mean, we've traveled as a family, and we chose not to wear a mask, and that was fine. So I think, again, it also comes down to your posture. If you're looking and you're, you know, either cautious or looking for a fight, that's probably going to end the way you don't want it to. So, yeah. So that's kind of, if you want that information, that's there in the group for you. Or if you just go on to, I think it's, what is it? If you search Statutory Declaration, I can't even say the word. There's a New South Wales one and there is a Commonwealth one. The ag.gov.au, if you search that, you'll find it, or join the group and you'll have access to that as well. But, you know, besides all of that, we definitely want to feel like the Aussies are, you know, they feel like their businesses are supported. And, you know, my heart goes out to everyone that feels like they are in a rock and a hard place, trying to keep their clients happy, trying to keep their business open, not get fined and cause stress, and it's all crap. So I think the big thing that we have held our stance on from the very beginning, this is like since March last year, was looking at what you can personally control amongst everything going on in the world and putting more focus on that than absorbing all of the crap that's available to us. And so for those of you that haven't seen, we put together a 7-day I'm Brave challenge, and it's all around focusing on finding your voice, focusing on your vision, and living your values. And for a lot of people, if you're in lockdown right now, if you potentially go into lockdown real soon, a lot of people finding themselves with extra time that they might not have had before, and it's easy for that to get burnt up on Netflix or scrolling through social media or watching the news and watching your blood pressure rise. And so we really wanted to create a way for you guys to be able to get empowered. And so that's what we're super passionate about.
Yeah. Can you bring it up? I forget what I'm Brave even stands for.
Oh.
We put it together so long ago.
I can, but it's not there.
All
so
right, let's remember. So the I was for inspiration.
Yeah.
And so it was all about input as well. So what I mean by input is exactly what Kate just said. Can you put us on?
Yeah, we're good.
We're good?
Yep.
They can see us.
Or us, yeah,
Us,
sorry.
yeah. Input. And so garbage in, garbage out. And if you're spending most of your waking hours, most of your time on social media, feeding it crap, do you get that is at the cause end then of your next reality? Mm-hmm. And if you believe that you have any contribution to the creative outcome of your life, what I mean by that, does things just happen by random? Are you just at the default? So things happen around you and I just land wherever it goes. Or if you have any sense that you're at the cause end of that, you may not be the entire cause, but if you can be the predominant creative force in your life and other people around you are co-creating with you, that this is where I believe we need to spend more of our time. Because again, the agenda is winning. While ever you are there, looking at the car accident, looking at the crap. Not just that, I'm going to forward it to every person I know.
Or getting caught up in an online keyboard battle that's going to get you nowhere.
And so you want to be deliberate with what you're putting in your mind.
Yep.
And make sure it's inspiration.
Intention. Yep.
The M was for motion.
Yep.
Okay.
Most people are not moving enough. You're in front of a screen. If you're in lockdown, there's restrictions around that. Having ways to move your body in a joyful way that creates longevity and health and vitality. And so really tapping into that as well.
The other one's posture. If you're on a screen, you're usually in a posture where your head is down, your shoulders are rounded, you're collapsing your chest, you're not breathing, and instantly you're in a state of lowered emotion, some form of depression. And so you've got to be able to move your body and open your posture. The next one is around breath. Okay, so we go through 3 different breathing exercises. 1 to bring your posture up, 1 to get you centered in your mind, and the other one is to eliminate stress.
Yeah.
So there's 3 little breathing processes. The R is how you're resonating. Okay, what's the vibration? And so you think about if you've got a certain radio frequency that you're tuned into, you're going to hear that all day. But if you don't tune into that, you have no idea what's going on. I was playing with my dog on the beach, just going, you have no idea there's a pandemic. You have no idea. You're running on the beach, you're having fun, you eat your food, you get a cuddle, life is good. And we could all do that. We could actually all choose that to limit the experience that we have, which just on a particular frequency. And so it's how do you raise your vibration? The A is for affirmation. So if all day you're hearing you should be scared, you should be worried, you should be trying to convince people the future sucks, fear, okay, you need to rewrite your script. You need to start putting in and actually speaking into your future, where you take the thoughts and through vibration, you turn it into something physical.
Yeah.
And you write that down and you're saying it, and you're literally the creator of your own destiny through the words that you're using.
So I've just popped the link to join it. If you want to join our 7-day free challenge, it's there in the comments of the chat. The next one is having a vision for your future beyond reality right now, having something that pulls you forward and has you get up in the morning and be inspired to take action towards that every single day. And then the last one is elicitation, actually putting pen to paper. I mean, we've been in the personal development world for the last 20 something years, and there's so much power to writing things down. I mean, we've got journals and things that we've written in 15, 20 years ago, and seeing so much of the words we wrote or the goals we had down actually come to fruition of who we are or what we've been able to attract is just goosebump like. But if you don't have that, it's easy to look at all the things you don't have. And for a lot of people, if they're asked, what do you want in your life? You can rattle off everything you don't want, but you can't say the things that you want. So those things are so powerful. The feedback that we had when we ran this live last year was just amazing. And so many people found that it just put them on the right path and back in the driver's seat of their life. And that's what we want for you guys. So there for you guys to tap into, and also to be around a community of people that are like-minded. And for some of you right now, you're feeling really lonely. You might be surrounded by people, but you're feeling really misunderstood and lonely around potential friends, work colleagues, and family, because perhaps they don't see the world the same way as you. So this is a way to connect with other like-minded people as well.
So that's a challenge. It's 7 days. It's free. Just jump in. We've had people do it 3-4 times each time they go into lockdown. They know that is the thing. So what happens is straight to your inbox every day. There's maybe 30-40 minutes of content and an action to do. And
parents, what I love is parents are doing it with their kids, because they're actually recognizing this is a lesson for their children to start living, even from 11, 12 years old, which is really special.
So that's there for you guys. Jump in, do it, enjoy it, apply it. Even if you just started each day with that, instead of rolling out of bed and seeing an inbox full of the latest updates, okay? So I know our desire for certainty, and we want to know what's the latest announcement, what's the latest revelation in evidence of I was right. But if you take a little holiday from social media, you can't tell me you don't feel better. You can't tell me to go put your feet on the ground, to, listen to the bird, whatever you can do to be closer to nature. You guys know how it works.
Yeah.
But we just got to stop being so immersed in the shit show.
And allowing so much external stuff to control how you show up for yourself and your family on a daily. Like, I speak to some people and they're so flat and down, but they're absorbing and consuming so many things right now that is not serving them in any way. And so they aren't showing up as their best for themselves or their kids or their partner. And so, some people have used the last 12 months to learn something new, to start dreaming again, to get some new skills or whatever, while others have become very fluent in the goings on of the world, or they've just watched everything unfold and just sat there like a helpless victim. And you guys get to choose how that looks like for you every single day.
If you're just watching this, you have no idea who we are, you haven't joined our other free community, which is the Empowered Lifestyle Revolution, that's there. It grew really fast to almost 50,000 people. And I was just kind of letting any posts come in, and we are hanging by a thread of that group still staying open.
Yeah.
And so some people are like, oh my gosh, you only see your content in there. I don't have time to vet the 20,000, it's probably 30,000 posts. And when I scan that, it's already got fact checkers not liking it. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean it's factual, but they can pretty much just go in and shut that down. So over time, there's been less and less visibility. For that reason, we started an email list where things like this recording will email out to people, because we know some people have boycotted
certain
platforms, which, I think that's inevitable. But for now, it's still the best way to communicate with people in mass. So there's lots of other resources we've put together, all sorts of guides on knowing your rights and all sorts of things like that. So we've been really happy to provide that. I think our favorite work is the family that we've put together inside of our academy. And so in the academy, that's the only paid thing that we've put together. Probably works out to about $1 an hour, I'd say, for all the time we put together. That this is where we teach the 7 laws of living an empowered lifestyle. We help people find their purpose. We help people know what their highest values are. We help people with relationship stuff. We help people with finances, how to monetize your own highest values. There's a whole bunch of stuff there on rights, as much as you need to know just to keep living life.
Without it consuming.
As well as connections to if you want to continue that education and you want to actually coach people in that space. Around finances, around setting up, protecting yourself, all of those topics. How to leave a legacy, how to find something bigger than yourself you want to contribute to. So we only open the doors to this a couple of times a year. Right now, we're opening it till the end of this month, though. Just again, I don't know, it might sound a bit foo-foo, but my biggest challenge, I feel the emotions of the planet. I wake up and Kate's like, what's wrong? I just everything feels so stark. It feels so flat. And so having our finger on the pulse of humanity, I guess is what I'd call it. We're opening that up now because I feel like more and more people need that. They need the community and they need the content. Okay, they need this to know how to protect themselves, how to keep more of what they're earning. There's all sorts of stuff in there that I can't talk about here. That also, this is a off social media platform.
Correct.
So we can go to town on everything. That really we just kind of need to be fairly superficial here to not get shut down.
And that's okay. So if you want to check it out, if you go, I popped the link in the chat, but it's empoweredlifestyleacademy.com. The doors are open till July 31 midnight. But for us, as I said earlier, like even if we look way back to March last year, it's been the constant message that we've wanted to be able to get across to people is to be able to hold your center and your posture and to not be swayed emotionally by, just getting back to what your outcome is. I've seen families torn apart by a difference of opinion. I've seen friendships of 40 plus years that disintegrate because they believe one thing and they believe something else, and the next thing it's all over. And that's just broken my heart to observe and see. And I've also seen people that are incredibly talented and powerful kind of crumble where they haven't used this time to their advantage or how they can learn and grow through this. They've kind of just been a bit of a fly on the wall. And so you all have a chance to step up during this time. If you have children, you have, for me, it's how do I lead my kids through this, and how do I show them how they can step into their power as well and not be in fear. Whatever your stance is on the world and how it rolls, I think that's a beautiful gift that we can pass on to the next generation as well.
Can you can say no, totally. We're at about 50 minutes for our 30-minute quick live. One of the processes we teach in the academy is called the anger letter. Mm-hmm. Could we give the short version of that for people? Because I just think it would be, if we could teach one thing right now, it would be a really cool thing.
So I came across this with a beautiful mentor of mine, and one of the things that I recognized in myself over the years was I always avoided conflict and confrontation. So I would probably physically bite my tongue, but often just bite my tongue, not say what I thought, or have it all bottle up inside and rattle off in my brain like the next day and the week later and a month later, and it would just be all internalized. And she said to me, she's like, have you ever heard of an anger letter? And I said, no. And she said, well, how often do you go to the bathroom? I'm like, every day. She's like, right, well, your emotions are exactly the same. She's like, imagine you were to you go to the movies and you go to the bathroom before you go to the movies. You line up and what happens? And I'm like, you go do your thing and you leave. She's like, exactly. But most people, when it comes to their emotions, then they don't do that. And so a lot of people, she gave the analogy of they're lining up in the cubicle to go to the bathroom at the movies. They go to the bathroom, but instead of just closing the door and, flushing the toilet and go washing their hands and leaving, what they're doing emotionally is they're smearing their stuff all over the wall. And I don't know if you guys can kind of relate, where you go tell a girlfriend or you go tell a mate or you go tell your dad, and you're not actually empowering anyone. You're kind of just smearing all of your crap and shitty emotions and everything all over everyone else. So they feel probably just as bad as you do, and no one actually feels better for it. You might feel a little bit better for it, but either that or all you're doing is suppressing, and you're suppressing, and you wonder why you have this inner feeling of tension and frustration, and you feel like quick to anger, but you don't know why, because life is good, but you can't put your finger on it. And so ultimately for a lot of people, they are bottling their emotions up, or they're the opposite, where they're just smearing their crap all over everyone else. So she gave the instruction to me of go get some scrap paper and just start writing to whoever it is, a partner. It could be a figure of authority. It doesn't matter who it is.
Yourself. It
could be yourself. Of this sucks, that sucks. Use all the language that you need to, like literally go to the emotional toilet on this scrap paper and get as much of it out as you possibly can. And then when you feel like you're done, just pop it aside, and then tomorrow have another look at it. And you're not going to share it with anyone. This is not about that, but it's about getting it out. And this is something I'm teaching to this little possum. And so the next day you read through it, and it's like, do I need to add anything else? Because while you're sleeping, or the next day at work, something else pops into your head. It's like, oh my gosh, yep, that as well. I forgot about that, and I forgot about that. And the next thing, it'll just all flow out. And it doesn't matter what it is, just get it out of your body and onto paper. And then once you've done that, you check it another couple of days later. Is there anything else I need to add to it? From there, you go and you burn it. It's not like you go put it in the post and send it to that person or anything like that. But what was really amazing, you taught me this lesson, Zara. So this one day, Zara was at home and we had the best day. Like, she hung out with her friends and it was like amazing. And I said to her, she's like, I'm so sad. And I'm like, but Zara, think about all the things that you could be grateful for right now. And she'd had her journal out and she started writing, wasn't good, and I didn't get to do this for as long. And it was all negative. And so the happy sunshine in me was like, but what are you grateful for? Let's find some good in this. And what I started to realize was she was actually doing an anger letter innately without any instruction, she was getting the feelings out of her. Yes, she was still grateful about stuff, but there was things inside of her that were not necessarily how she wanted to feel. She was getting it out, but I was actually trying to smooth it over and make it all good.
Happy, happy, happy.
Happy, happy, joy. And so with my mentor, I shared that with her. I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually recognized I was shutting that down in her when innately she knew that's exactly what she needed to do. So for a lot of you right now, you are holding your tongue. You're holding your tongue around friends, around family, around your boss, on social media. You've got feelings and emotions around rules and what's happening all around the world. My encouragement to you is get that out. And it doesn't mean just turn to a friend and just bleh. Like that does not make them feel any better. Sometimes to Anthony, I'll be like, hey, Ant, I just need to have a vent. And he knows I'm putting my Teflon on and okay, whatever she's saying at me, it's not at me. It's just, she just needs to voice it. But honestly, guys, if you can put pen to paper and 2 or 3 days later, if you read it back and there's nothing to add and you can burn it, there's so much power and release in that. And I said to my mentor, I'm like, well, how often do you do this? And she's like, well, how often do you go to the bathroom? I'm like, oh. She's like, this is an ongoing thing. It's not just a one day, because some one day something will pop up from 15 years ago and someone did something at school and that's hurting your feelings. So you can write that up, but it's just getting these things out. So whether it's current, whether it's past, the feedback that we have had from the members in our academy has just been amazing. And it's so simple. Like, it's not rocket science. It is such a simple process. And you were doing that before I even knew how to, when you were like 8, which is pretty amazing.
Because then you take the charge off the thing, because you've got to you're the one who's creating the emotion. No one's doing it to you. Mm-hmm. These are all internal triggers.
Yeah.
And so what's happening through this phase in history, all your triggers are just all your buttons are being pressed.
Yeah.
But that's you. So imagine if you were Viktor Frankl and you were genuinely in a concentration camp, the whole game is your inner world. Mm. And so this is what we teach largely in the academy.
Yeah.
Remedies and resources, but how do you just create a life that has more joy, more connections, deeper relationships, all that good stuff.
And because there's so many of you right now that you don't want to rock the boat, and you're so kind and you're so lovely and you're so thoughtful to everyone else, everyone except yourself. And there's this internal just tornado happening within you of emotions, and you can't put your finger on why you feel unsettled, because on the outside you're so nice to everyone else. But you need to do that for yourself. Like, it is a total thing, because what we know to be true as well is that, every one of our cells is bathing in our emotions, right? So if you've got all of this negativity and frustration and anger bottling up inside you, that will absolutely affect your internal health and vitality. So, are we good?
It's our cue to
go. It's been a pleasure being on with you guys. Our love and hearts go out to all of you, particularly those of you that are just in some really tough times right now. We're definitely getting a lot of messages from people, and we're doing our absolute best to connect you with people or ways in which you can move through things. But just know there's a community of people that see you and feel you and get you. And I really encourage you, if you haven't yet, go through the I'm Brave challenge, go through that, the link we shared in the chat before, and just start putting yourself and your vision for your future first, rather than being caught up in the narrative that's going on right now. And make every day count. Good night, guys. Bye.